like to call this meeting, the Cedar Falls Board of Education, to order. A governmental body may conduct a meeting by electronic means only in circumstances where such a meeting in person is impossible or impractical, and only if the governmental body provides public access to the conversation of the meeting to the extent reasonably possible. The place of the meeting is the place from which the communication originates, and the minutes of the meeting shall include a statement explaining why a meeting in person was impossible or impractical as pursuant of Iowa Code Section 21.8. The reason this meeting is being held by electronic means is due to out-of-town travel. You had before you the minutes of the meeting of August 22nd. Do I hear any comments, or do I hear a motion for approval?
Move for reapproval.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. We had, Susan, you were the one that looked at the accounts payable this time. Did you have any comment?
Nope, I do not. They all look to be in order.
Okay. Then, do I hear a motion when we accept the bills as approved?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried. And then we have the treasurer's report. Mr. Nefsker, would you introduce that?
Thank you, Dr. Kenyon. It's my honor to present, or have John Steen present the treasurer's report for the 2015-16 school year.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to present the Treasurer's Reconciliation Report for our fiscal year ending June 30, 2016 for the Cedar Falls Community School District. Start with the bank, depository bank reports. Affidavit of depository bank for Wells Fargo Bank, checking accounts in the general fund as of 6/30/16, $1,275,486.94. In the student activity account, $147,736.91. The food service fund, $441,250.05, and the schoolhouse fund had $1,664,187.33. On the investment side, in Wells Fargo regular savings, $82,195.69. Lincoln Savings Bank money market, $6,665,643.40. Lincoln Savings Passbook, $14,512,613.68, and Farmer State Bank CD, $1,834,533. So the total treasurer's balance as of June 30, 2016, $26,623,647. Next, the secretary's balance, operating fund, $10,814,832.60. The management fund, $946,047.77. Trust and agency fund, $292,749.90. Student activity fund, $637,863.32. And the food service fund, $662,242.17. Entrepreneurial fund, $4,786.82. Local option fund, $9,491,657.55. The PEPL fund, $3,391,040.45, and debit service, $775.43. So the secretary's balance was $26,241,996.01. The difference to account for that, there were outstanding checks of $236,538.76. Meridian Bank jet pay deposits, $16,708.51. Federal and state taxes, $124,764. And deposit in transit, $3,639.72. For the total difference, $381,650.99. Matches the treasurer's balance and the secretary's balances at $26,623,647.
Okay, thank you, John.
Any questions?
Any questions? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion accepted. Thank you.
Thank
As
you.
a side note, this is John's last meeting as treasurer. He is retiring of the treasurer position, and we just want to say thank you for all of your work and all that you've done for the Cedar Falls district.
You're
So,
welcome. Yeah.
Thank you, John.
You bet. And it's been a pleasure, and Doug and his staff make it certainly easy, so thank you very much, Doug. Thank you. Good work. Yeah.
Thank you, John. Okay, that concludes the business of this board, and we will be retiring the old board. And do I hear a motion to retire the board?
So moved.
And a
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned.
You're free.
Now we're back.
Stay right.
This would be the beginning of the new board. Following every September, we have reorganization of the board, and I will determine then to call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. Do you call that, Mr. Nefsker?
Yeah, I'll read off everybody's, board member's name, and please state if you're present. Mrs. Coyle,
Present.
Mr. Hassman. Present. Mrs. Hines,
Present.
Dr. Kenyon,
Present.
Mrs. Lance,
Present.
Mrs. Leeper,
Present.
and Dr. Shaw.
Present.
We do have a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay. And we will now have the election of the new board president. And Mr. Nefsker, will you handle that?
Yes, sir, I will. In front of the board members that are present, you will see a nominating ballot for the office of president. I would ask you to fill that ballot out with one selection and then turn it in to myself. For the board members that are not present, please submit your ballot electronically and state in your communication to me, I'm nominating for president, whomever.
Right.
And as people finish, the board members finish the nominating process for president, this is just information for all of our community members. As Dr. Kenyon said, each September by Iowa code, we have a reorganizational meeting, and this is where we go through several processes, and one of that is to name new president and vice president of the board, and here in just a bit, the treasurer as well to appoint that. So this is certainly one of those yearly activities that we go through, and certainly is a good activity as we look to the leadership of the board for the next fiscal year. Per Iowa code, and those that might be at home or for the board, this is all sequenced and laid out in board policy 201.3, annual and organizational meetings. And as we go through the nominating process, the two individuals potentially that have the most nominations will be on the official ballot. We'll go through the process to elect the president based on those nominations.
Okay, I have tallied the nominating ballots, and we have 4 ballots, our total of 7 ballots received, and it's a split between Director Coyle and Director Kenyon. So at this point, I would ask everybody in the room to fill out their actual election ballot, and it looks similar to this. For those of you that are calling in electronically, please then you vote for either Mrs. Coyle or Dr. Kenyon for president. Okay, I have received the 7 ballots, and I'm pleased to announce that President for the school board for the 2016-17 school year is Joyce Coyle. So, Mrs. Coyle, if you would please stand. I can find my right piece of paper here. Okay, if you would raise your right arm, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of office of Board President in the Cedar Falls Community School District, Cedar Falls, Iowa, as now or hereafter required by law?
I will.
Congratulations.
So now we'll have the election of vice president of the new board.
And we will follow the same process as we did last time for those board members present and those calling in. You have a nominating ballot that has all different board members' names on it. If you would please select one of those and submit that back into myself. Well, we have 4 individuals that have been nominated for vice president, and of the 4 individuals that were nominated, we have a 3-way tie. So what we will need to do now is to recast nominating ballots for vice president, and you will choose between directors Hassman, Hines, or Shaw.
Is this for nomination or for?
Nomination.
Okay.
So we use,
And
So
so,
there's 3 selections for nominating for vice president. And there's a 3-way tie, so this is going to be, you're going to nominate one of 3 people, Mr. Hassman, Ms. Hines, or Dr. Shaw.
And then there will be a vote after that.
Correct. And as we finish this up too, I think we'd be remiss without saying, certainly on this September 12th, 15 years after September 11th, we as a school district want to say thank you not only to our first responders, but certainly all of our servicemen and women that help keep us safe on a daily basis. So it's always one of those aspects where you have an opportunity to sit and pause and think and reflect on all that they sacrifice and all that they do for us on a daily basis. So thank you for that.
Okay, I'm waiting on Director Hassman's second nomination. Here it comes. And I have it now, thank you. And we have all 7 votes in, and we have 1 candidate with 3 ballots, and Director Hassman and Director Hines have 2 ballots each. So in order to break this, we will vote yet again, excuse me, but we will only vote for either Director Hassman or Director Hines. And I hope I have enough ballots to go left.
So that means it's kind of a runoff for that second ballot, who will then run for the official vice presidency with Dr. Shaw.
And then what we're going to do here is
Here,
this.
I have another one here.
Actually,
Extra.
Mr. Nefsker, may I withdraw my nomination at this time?
Yes, you may.
All right.
Okay. So given the fact that Director Hassman has withdrawn his name, now we will,
No, Dr.
excuse me,
Shaw.
Dr. Shaw has withdrawn his
The
name.
one with the bow tie.
I apologize for that. We will now ask everybody to actually cast a vote for the office of Vice President, and you will either be voting for Director Hines or Director Hassman.
Stand up.
And I'm waiting on Director Lance's ballot for Vice President.
Okay, I sent it. I'll send it again.
Oh, here it comes. Got it.
Did you get it?
Got it, thank you. And I can announce that the new Vice President for the school board for the 2016-17 school year is Mrs. Hines. And as soon as I find the paper, we'll have President Coyle give the oath. Yeah, I think that's it.
You might want to leave it on. Susie, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of Board Vice President in the Cedar Falls Community School District, Cedar Falls Community School District, Cedar Falls, Iowa, as now and hereafter required by law? Congratulations. All right. Moving on and appointing the treasurer.
Yes, we are recommending that the board appoint as treasurer Dan Lynch. He is from First National Bank. He is the senior vice president there. He was not able to be here this evening, which we greatly apologize, and he is apologetic as well. We know that with the retirement of John Steen, that We certainly want to have somebody from the community that can continue to review the financials and ensure that those are delivered to the board each year annually. So it is our recommendation that we appoint Dan Lynch from First National Bank as treasurer of the Cedar Falls Community School District Board of Education.
And how this will work, because Mr. Lynch is not available tonight, sometime within the next 10 days, President Coyle will need to give Mr. Lynch the oath of office, and we'll work on setting that time and date up, possibly either after the meeting tonight or tomorrow.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
But I do need a motion and a second to appoint.
Do I have a motion to approve Mr. Lynch for our treasurer?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to item H on the agenda, to adopt the written policies, rules, regulations, and procedures of Iowa Code 279.8. Do I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
It's moved by Doug,
Second.
seconded by Jenny. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to item I on the agenda, the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Jim. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do you have any questions regarding the consent agenda?
So when we changed our open enrollment policy, is that in effect now? Or when will I start seeing that reflected in our open enrollment requests?
Yep, that's reflective now as we look to the future. You will see within the open enrollment requests, at this time, we did not have any that we recommended denial on due to either classroom space, programming space, or other needs based on the board policy that's been approved. You will see the Cs reflective of those students that are continuously open enrolled, either into or out of our district, which means we do not have any decision-making possibility with those students. We do have one student that is in open enrolling out of our district in 12th grade. Another student that is going to open enroll into kindergarten into our district, and that student does have a sibling in our district, and we do have space for that student within our sections.
So is that the only time that the deadline isn't applicable? Because they do have to meet an open enrollment deadline, correct?
They do, and actually for kindergartners that is September 1st. So there's a different deadline for incoming kindergartners than there are for other students in first grade through 12th grade.
Any other questions regarding the consent agenda? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to public comment.
Yes, once again, we are excited to hold our meetings at the City Council chambers. Some individuals may be new to viewing the Cedar Falls School Board meetings, and I wanted to provide some information regarding our public comment section. Our school board meetings by Iowa Code are considered open meetings. An open meeting means the meeting is open to the public to observe and listen to the proceedings of the meeting. At the public comment section of the agenda, citizens have the opportunity to make brief statements to the board. To make a public comment, a citizen must simply notify the district office or board president by 4 p.m. the day of the board meeting. Make sure the comments will be less than 3 minutes and keep the comments germane to school district business. At this time, we do have an individual signed up for public comment, and I think at each person's location there is a handout, and that individual is Mr. Harry Roberts. Welcome.
Thank you. A year ago, I was here, up the street, I guess, but brought to you the attention of Robinson Dresser Baseball Complex. You're still hanging on to the #1 worst baseball field in the state of Iowa, as far as I've seen. I've traveled all through the state following baseball games, and it's in deplorable condition. I don't know if the Unidome's ready for new turf so that we can get more turf from up there and scatter about the baseball field. That's what we've got now. This year I extended my walk around the place. The outfield fence is loose. We had several kids get their legs caught underneath the fence because there's too much gap. The outfield's in deplorable condition. There's big ruts in the outfield. But to kind of regress here, I do got to commend you on the work that was done out there last fall. It improved that place by 100% on the entrance of the facility. Got rid of the gravel, put down concrete, put a beautiful banner up around the bleachers. Really looks nice when you walk in, but I tell you what, my wife and I sat in just about the same place at every game. And we kept measuring the weeds as they were growing up each ball game. I got a letter from, email from Jenny, and her response was that there was a mixed community site maintenance. The general poor condition of the site in terms of being tended to and garbage and non-essential items being picked up and hauled away is being partially attributed to some miscommunication between the coaching staff and the district's ground crew. That did not get taken care of.
And Mr. Roberts, you have about 30 more seconds, so.
Okay. I'll put together some pictures. I'll leave them with you. But please, before somebody gets seriously hurt out there, not because they were playing ball, because they were either running or going to field the ball because of the conditions of the field, please take a good look at it. How many of you were out to the ballpark this year?
With you.
Were you, were you out there before?
And again, this is a time for public comment, not a time for answers and dialogue back and forth. So,
How do I get to that point?
you can certainly call me and any of our staff. We're available throughout the entire business day, and we are very glad to speak with you and have a conversation with you about this, Mr. Roberts.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you. Moving on to item K on the agenda for communications, it's with great pleasure that we have our student representative today, Julie Jorgensen, to visit with us and share with us what's going on at the high school.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, I'm Julie Jorgensen again. I am the student rep for this year's school board. I have a couple updates. As of right now, in Student Senate, we are hosting our annual Do Better, Be Better 5K, and we are very excited about it. It is our annual color run, and all proceeds go to the Do Better, Be Better Foundation. And some of the money that we receive will be used in a scholarship, and usually the scholarship is given to someone who, it's a senior every year, and they're kind of in need. They're in need of the scholarship, and some of that money will be donated to them as well. Also, Cedar Falls High School homecoming is coming up the week of October 2nd through the 8th. Student Senate is currently in the process of planning and organizing the dance and the week before. Our theme this year is Stars and Stripes, or the USA theme, and we're very excited to be showing school spirit as well as American spirit this homecoming. As of right now, most of the clubs, activities, athletics, they're all just getting into the flow of things. So I'm excited to update more on that as the year goes on. Just a couple specifics. Cedar Falls High School athletics are doing wonderful this fall. Cedar Falls football played Iowa City West last Friday. We lost 17-10. However, the Tigers are ready to come back this upcoming Friday at the Dome with Western Dubuque. Also this week, men's and women's cross-country team have their home meet, the Rich Engel Classic, up at Birdsall Park. And so, encouraging everyone to go watch our team go and run. Also, Cedar Falls High School has this new group called the Social Issues Group. It's the former SAGE group. And this is a student-led group, and we're very excited about it. students 10th to 12th grade coming together discussing controversial topics in a civil manner, and we are very excited to introduce that club to Cedar Falls. So that is all. Thank you so much.
Great job, Julie.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
The communication section of the agenda also is an opportunity on the agenda for board members and district staff to provide communication to the full board and/or to provide comments regarding a question that may have arisen during public comment. One of the things that I would mention and certainly respond back to Mr. Roberts is we know that next board meeting we are going to have the physical plant and equipment levy 10-year facility plan and how those funds may be spent. Within that PEPL expenditure plan, there are roughly about $500,000 of expenditures that we anticipate at Robinson Dresser Park. We know that there are some needs there. We know we had some maintenance, some repairs, about $50,000 worth of investments out there this past summer, and there are certainly some more that need to come to continue to enhance that opportunity in those fields for our students as well as for our community. So that's something that is planned. That's something within that PEPL 10-year facility document, and we will certainly bring that to the board's attention at the next meeting.
Just a general question, can I ask? I'm assuming the district does do all the maintenance for Robinson Dresser, is that correct?
We do, and this is something, as we heard tonight, we really need to check into because that's a surprise that there were weeds and other aspects that are out there. Certainly our sense of pride and I guess our focus on excellence to hear that now, and I would encourage if that's occurring, especially during the season, please let us know. We go out there and we all participate, we all watch, we all support our students, but we did not hear that throughout the season and certainly need to come back and readdress that with staff to ensure that that's being taken care of. So we would encourage, again, during the season, please, if that's occurring and people are seeing that, we want to know and we want to hear about that to ensure that the viewership, the participation from everybody in our community is at a high level.
Thanks.
As long as we're talking on the subject, I want to really express my appreciation to Mr. Roberts for the quality of that photo album. I got to take a look at it before the meeting, and it's really well done, and it shows what people need to see. And just thank you for all the work you put into it.
Thank you, Deb.
And I just wanted to share, when Julie was talking about the Do Better, Be Better run, we also help many families out of that fund. And I think I saw it, I can't remember if it was on Twitter or if it was at the district website. I had not realized how many different families have been able to be assisted through health issues. So we don't need to go into those at this meeting, but if people are interested in that run, I'm sure you can just donate in addition to participating in it. But it was pretty impressive what our staff and students have done and helped out their friends and fellow people in the community suffering with things like that. So
Thank you, Jen.
great event.
Thank you.
Moving on to item L, informational reports. We have the ACT and the Senior Year Plus. Mr. Wedgbury.
We are excited to have Mr. Wedgbury, high school principal from the Cedar Falls High School, with us this evening. So welcome.
Good evening. Again, I am Jason Wedgbury, the high school principal. I have some fantastic news to share regarding ACT and the progress we've made. So I'm going to share just a little bit about not only 2016 results, but it's to show a data point, but then it's also to put it into context. And that context is going to be in some trend lines. So we'll share a little bit about that. The report came back, so 2 years in a row, we've achieved the highest score on average that we've received before, at an average of 24.5. Our percentage of students taking it didn't really go up, but the number of students did. We had a larger class, and so we had 276 students take the exam, and again, the average was 24.5, which I think is a positive piece. Now we're going to show it a little bit in relation to the national, Iowa, and Cedar Falls comparisons. In the red is Cedar Falls, so where we scored the 24.5. You can also break it down into English, the math, the reading, and the science reasoning. And so you can kind of see the comparisons between the national being the lowest of all 5 of those that are displayed, as well as the Iowa, which is the middle in the green, and the red, which is currently Cedar Falls. That was a data point. Now we're going to look a little bit at the trend line. So you can see the last 2 years have earned an average of 24.5. The positive piece is on the national average and on the state level, they trended down and ours stayed constant. So, not only is it doing well, it's staying constant when others are going down. We hope to start the trend of upward movement. Here's just a look at the graduating, the ACT scores for just English. That's relatively constant. At the end, we have a 23.9, a 24, and a 23.9. So staying kind of constant in that one. As we look at reading, reading has had some significant growth recently, and I know that's been a focus at the junior high level, continues on into the high school level, and we're reaping the rewards of 2 years at 25.0. Positive trend in math as well. Science reasoning, staying strong. We're well above. When you look at the state average, our science reasoning scores are something to be proud of. The next part kind of looks at the college readiness. So, there's benchmarks that are established, and you can see an English composition or the math, the reading, and the science. The benchmark score is if you earn an 18 in English, a 22 in math, a 22 in reading, or a 23 in science. And so it looks at, how did our students do in saying that they are set up to earn, set up for success at the college level. In English, 82% of our students earn that 18 or above. The positive trend you want to look at is, could we meet it in all 4 categories? And 53% were able to meet it in all 4 categories. Again, that's a data point until we look at the trend line. And you'll see, it's not the trend line I was necessarily looking for. Maybe we'll come to that in just a second. English was a small dip. We didn't do as well as in English in comparison to the last 5 years, but the rest of them trend on an upward, in an upward manner. Math at the 5-year history, reading, science, and then this is the one I was looking for. The 53% didn't mean a whole lot until you look at the trend, and the 53% means that we're having positive movement. More students are demonstrating college readiness in all 4 categories than we have in the last 5 years. So another positive trend that we can focus on. Again, that's just another way of displaying the exact same information we covered. Percent of graduates taking the ACT. That's stayed pretty constant for quite a period of time. We haven't seen a big uptick, and we haven't seen a reduction in that area. Not everybody needs to take the ACT. It depends on what their post-secondary plans are. And so that's one thing we continue to monitor. Where are our students going, and how are they doing? But in relation, that percentage of students who are taking the ACT is relatively unchanged for quite a period of time. This is a little bit about where our students go, and you can see almost 55% are attending a state school. Our highest percentage this past year was going to UNI, followed by Iowa, and then Iowa State. There's other 4-year colleges and out-of-state colleges. Hawkeye continues to serve a lot of our students after they leave the high school. So, we continue to track, and I think our counseling department is doing a wonderful job of tracking how students are doing when they leave our building, how successful are they. And for a large population, the students who go on to take the ACT and are going to 4-year colleges or any post-secondary education continue to do very, very well. Ethnicity kind of breaks it down by ethnicity in relation between Cedar Falls and the state of Iowa. Just another data point to be aware of. Again, in comparison, our students do very well. Average ACT by gender. You can see the males are in blue, the females are in the pink. Kind of an odd color combination, I suppose, or not. But you can kind of see, in the relation, there's a small discrepancy, but it stays kind of constant on the way through. Females, from Cedar Falls, females to the state of Iowa, just gives you another blip in the radar. Our females do well, and you'll see our males continue to do well. So, when you stack us up against Iowa, we look favorably. The one thing that we continue to look at on a regular basis is how do we compare against the schools that we want to be compared with. You know, you can always look at a different school and say, you know, I want to find somebody that makes everything look favorable. I think it's good to be aware of the schools that make us look favorable, but also the schools that say, you know what, they're accomplishing still things better than what we're accomplishing, and it always kind of creates an urgency and a level for we can still improve. So, you know, this is an evidence where we can look at the data, we can celebrate a lot of it. There's areas, plenty of areas that we can celebrate, and we're very proud of the work of our students, our families, our staff, and everybody that's involved in our educational system, because it's not just about the high school, it's about the preparation through our elementaries, through our junior highs, and we reap the rewards of that solid foundation. That is the part of the ACT. Any questions about the ACT before we move on to
I had a couple
Senior Year
Jason.
Plus? Yes.
For ACT readiness and post-grad plans, for both of those, we're tracking them right as they're leaving our building.
Correct.
Is there any way or method to track them that sophomore, junior year to, first of all, find out, I mean, we show what that ACT readiness shows, who's going to do well. Is there any way to gauge actually, is that an accurate measure of how they do that first year of college? And then also for post-grad plans, if we know what they're doing that freshman year, is there any way to follow up with them that junior and senior year to see, you know, are they staying in college? Are they transferring colleges?
Our counseling department would be able to share that. You know, I could probably do a separate presentation just to answer those questions. But yes, we do track the students and to see if they're graduating, see where they're graduating from, you know. So there is a tracking mechanism, and our counseling watches that much closer than this report really lends to. But yes, that's a report that if you're interested in, that's additional information that we could share.
I think that'd be
And I
great
think that would be helpful to see, you know, are they graduating on time from the institutions of where they're going? And right now, I would say from general conversation, the answer is yes. But I would like to be able to back that up with more specific information, and I think we could certainly provide that for you.
We're a member of the clearinghouse, so we get data from our students as not only as they graduate, but are they retained after their first year in college? Are they finishing on time? And now in our fourth year, we should have some pretty robust data that comes back from the clearinghouse.
Great.
Yeah.
And then I know that the high school offers a couple forms of ACT prep for our students. For people who are watching, could you just share what those are briefly?
Yes. We offer 3 opportunities now that come. We offer one that's offered through our schools, our teachers, 4 different evenings in preparation for the April testing date. And so there's 4 that come about, and they spend a few hours in the evening in preparation, but you have to attend all 4. You're covering a different content area each of those 4 nights. The other one is we not associated with our staff is through the ZAPS program. We did it for the first time this past year, and we now have 2 of those that are going to be opportunities provided. One's going to be for April, and one's going to be for June. Those are one sessions of 5 hours. And so I think we offer 3 different opportunities, but you have to find the one that meets your needs. If you're looking for ones in the evening and you want to divide it into smaller chunks of time, you can go by the one that we host through Cedar Falls Schools. If you want to go through ZAPS, it's a 5-hour segment. It costs a little bit more money. I think it's $80 for the ZAPS program. It's $30 or $35 for the CF program. So both have shown great results. More of it is about, do you actually have the seat time to sit down and focus on how to take the test and review the material that's going to be on the test? And you talk about the strategies, and students who have taken it and then go through the training program and then come back and take it again, you know, somebody may stall out at a 29 and all of a sudden get to that 30 and earn an additional scholarship, and a lot of people take advantage of those.
Are students doing both programs, or do they really just do one or the other?
Well, last year was the first time we offered the ZAPS, and the feedback from the students was very, very positive. You know, like I say, it was a 5-hour segment, but it's a 5-hour segment that you can take advantage of, and we host it, you know, between a week and a week and a half prior to the testing date. So the information's very fresh. Okay. And I think it's well worth the time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you. Okay. The next one is Senior Year Plus, and this one's to talk about college credit opportunities for our students through either advanced placement, post-secondary enrollment options, or concurrent enrollment. And post-secondary enrollment options you'll see as PSEO as we move through. This has been enacted by the Iowa legislature in 2008, but I'm not going to read each one of those bullet points to you, but what I can say is we continue to offer a comprehensive school experience, and we try and offer many different broad categories of classes and opportunities, and I think this is a direct tie to our college readiness. Students are taking college-level coursework while in high school, and I think there's a large benefit. Whether they take it through our teachers on campus and earn a dual credit, or whether they actually leave our campus and go to either Hawkeye or UNI for their course. And I think we have a very positive trend of students benefiting from these experiences. Percentage of graduates enrolled in college-level coursework while attending CFHS, AP, Concurrent, and PSEO courses. Again, we're kind of staying steady on that. We're hit at 77.4% for 2016. So those were all three of them, about 77%. And we've discussed a lot, do we care that that's 100%? Do we strive to make sure that 100% of our students leave high school with at least some level of college credit? We've been wishy-washy a little bit on that because college credit isn't for everybody, but we're offering a lot of opportunities, and we have 77% who actually take advantage of that. So I don't know that it's a strong goal for us to hit 100%. Our main goal is to present as many opportunities. If students are starting asking for opportunities and we're unable to provide it, we find a way to provide it. If that happens to increase and get towards 100%, we'll celebrate that. But we also know that that's not for absolutely everybody. For advanced placement, you're scored at the very end on an exam of 1 to 5. Not everybody takes the exam. I think our average right now is at 70%, and that'll come up. About 70% of our students who are enrolled in our AP courses actually take the exam. Sometimes our teachers say, you know what, they want the academic preparation. They feel like they have it, they just don't want the stress of the test. And then you have the teachers who are very competitive to say, but I know you're going to be a 5. I want you to take the test. But they're not willing to pay it for them. So, current AP course offerings, we offer a nice blend of AP experiences. You can see a few that have been recently added. We added the AP Environmental Science, recently added also as AP Music Theory. You know, and next year we hope to add the AP Human Geography, which is a social studies course. So we continue to look at, you know, what is the readiness for our students? What can they be successful in? And that's what we try and offer. And so that's just, you see it maybe continue to grow, but I think they're great opportunities. Because of some of the course offerings, you can see 534 last year, 526 for this year. Adding a couple courses, you bump up, and we have quite a few students who actually take advantage. Advanced placement enrollment as a percentage. Our percentage hasn't changed really in the last 2 years, but in the last 2 years, you know, sitting around 25% of our students who take advantage of the AP experience. And there's the students who actually take the AP test sitting at 70%. Students with a score of 3 or above. You need a score of 3 to pass. And a 3 to pass means that you're probably going to get some college level credit, or it's going to be recognized at the collegiate level. A 4 and 5 for sure. A 3 is just depends on where you're going. And as you look right there, we drop slightly, but we also have more people taking the test. And I would only assume the more that we continue to have that take the test, we'll see how that number responds by, you know, the pass rate. We are able to break those numbers down by individual course and looking at different things, and we have some courses that score really, really well, and some that we know are challenging assessments, and we continue to have to work to make sure that our students can pass the exam. Post-secondary enrollment options. These are more driven at, we don't offer it at Cedar Falls High School. If we don't offer it at Cedar Falls High School, they're a junior and senior, or they happen to be tag identified, they have the opportunity to take some options either at Hawkeye and or at UNI, and we don't offer them, and we make it, obviously the district is paying for those. Very positive options because sometimes we don't have things that students can benefit from. And the biggest challenge with the PSEO courses is the ability to schedule them. I think we would continue to have more and more students take it, but to find a UNI or a Hawkeye schedule that's going to be on their campus and fit it in with their CF schedule is not the easiest task in the world. But we're still serving a lot of students that way. And you can kind of see the trend as we look there. Concurrent enrollment, that's where most of our, if not all of our concurrent enrollment classes are earning college and high school credit. they're taught by our teachers. Very seldom do we have a Hawkeye teacher, and it's not opposed to that. We're just saying most of our teachers with master's degree and high qualifications currently serve and teach most of our students. A little bit about the trend line. Total 26 courses have been added as concurrent offerings at CFHS. And just a little bit about some Career Academy programs and health careers as we move through. Core area offerings, not a lot of new there. We did add Intermediate Spanish 1 and Intermediate Spanish 2. What I can say is I can walk in that class and not understand a whole lot of what is going on. But I can tell you the students are learning at a high level with great instruction. Just a wonderful course, because we've had students who would say, you know what, I want that extra push and extra level of Spanish, and they're certainly getting it. So we offer a nice blend of course offerings through our concurrent enrollment. And as you can see, because those numbers and offerings continue to go up, we have 996 students who are taking advantage of those concurrent courses. Any question in relation to our senior year plus or our other college opportunities?
I just had a question on the 996 number, which was in your last slide.
Yes.
That is, if I have a student who's taking 3 concurrent classes, they would be counted 3 times in that number, or is that?
Yes, I believe that, yes. So if a student is taking a whole course load, so it's every enrollment that we have. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Otherwise, that would be a large number of students.
That would be a large number, but that's a great number.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Thank you,
Jason.
Mr. Weisberg.
Item M on the agenda. Motion to authorize Secretary and Financial Advisor to proceed with refinancing of outstanding school infrastructure sales, service, and use tax revenue bonds, Series 211, dated May 10th, 211.
I would like to introduce Mr. Larry Berger. Mr. Berger is from Vice President at Spear Financial. He has helped the school district in the past with structuring our 2 revenue bonds that we currently have within the district. And I think we have a really nice opportunity for the school district and the community to advance some things. I'll turn it over to Mr. Berger.
Thank you, Doug. Larry Berger from Spear Financial again. And we do have a great opportunity tonight, just because the interest rates are extremely low in the market. They have been for a number of years. And there's an opportunity out there to refinance your 2011 bonds. Let me just take you back. In 2011, we issued $20,500,000 in sales tax revenue bonds. It's a long title, but it's the sales tax revenue bond. In the original issue, we always protect the district with what is called a call provision. Bonds are an investment for the people buying them, and they want to make sure that they get to hold the bonds for a certain number of years before the district can refinance them, pay them off if you have the cash or whatever. And so your call provision in this bond issue is in 2019. Now, we're not to the call provision, so basically we can't refinance them and take them away from the investors as today. But there is a provision in the federal law that allows a district or a public agency to do what is called an advance refinancing. That's when the interest rates are low. What you do is you issue the new debt, you take the money and you put it into very secure federal, they're called slugs, federal investments, and the money sits there and pays the old debt, pays the payment on the old debt until 2019, and then the bonds are called in and the debt is paid off. You start paying on the new debt immediately after you issue the debt. So again, you take the money. Now, the downside is that you do lose some money because of the investment rates are not as high as what you would be paying. We did send out a document to you to show that your interest rates on the current bonds run from 4 to 5.4%, if you'll remember that document we sent out. The market right now, it looks like we could issue these bonds, if we did it today, at about 2.05%, a significant savings. Now, with the advanced refunding, there's two ways of doing this. One is to do it just like you did it in 2011 with a new bond sale, which requires a rating from the Standard & Poor's rating agency, a reserve fund, which you did set aside in 2011, and a reserve fund is in case the sales tax drops off, you have a fund to dip into to make the principal and interest payment. Or there is a kind of a relatively new system out there that we can hire what is called a placement agent, and they find a bank to place these new bonds in. Now, one of the advantages to that is the banks now, and these will be banks in Iowa, we don't know who, but they will not require a reserve fund. So now you have over $2 million sitting in your bank account, invested, and waiting for the last payment in 2029 on these bonds. If we can issue this new debt through a private placement, then the bank will not require that, and we can take your $2.1 million and buy down the bond issue. So they don't require a new reserve fund, and plus the cost of issuance is lower because you don't have to have these rated. The bonds now, or the banks now, are very comfortable with the sales tax. It's in the state law. It goes on until 2029 presently. And so those are some of the advantages to a private placement. What we are suggesting tonight is that we do place these with a placement agent. We have actually sent out a request for proposal to two placement agents, Piper Jaffray and D.A. Davidson. We have received those back. It is in your best interest and the cheapest to go with D.A. Davidson, which we would recommend we go with, that we negotiate the new rate with them and we negotiate the terms for refinancing. Your payments between now and 2029 will actually drop, according to our schedules that we sent you, if we place the bonds at 2.05%, by about $4 million. I would love to be able to claim that, but $2.1 million is your money that you are going to buy down the bond issue. So the net present value, the way we have it calculated, of a savings to the district by 2029 is $1.5 million. And that is net after all of the costs, the placement agent's charges, the bonding attorney's charges, and our charges for doing the deal. And so tonight what we would like is you don't have to take any other action if you're willing to go ahead and pass your motion tonight to authorize the district to move forward. And probably what we will bring back is the deal in about a month. I know you do have a meeting at the end of September. That might be a little quick for the placement agent and to get the deal done. So we are probably looking at your October 10th meeting, if that's your meeting date, to bring back a deal for you with the placement agent and so forth. This doesn't obligate you to go forward. What this does is allow us to go forward by allowing the administration to work with us and work with the placement agent. You can reject the deal on the 10th of October if indeed the market goes against us and we don't feel it's a good deal. We will certainly come back and let you know. And so this does not obligate you to go forward. You won't have the obligation until October 10th until you make the motion to accept the deal. With that, I would answer any questions that you may have.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think I understand your proposal. Thank you very much for working on it. A question for you is, so
because we really can't exercise the call option until 2019, you've described essentially an escrow account that we stick the money in that ensures that the current holders of those bonds will be paid, as promised through 2019. So in essence, we are paying double, double not in the sense, we're paying interest on the old bonds and we're paying interest on the new bonds, but because the rate is so significantly lower over the last 10 years of the bond, it still makes it a good deal for us. Is that a good summary of that situation?
You are not making double payments. Actually, the new bond issue will pay the principal and interest payments on the old bonds until 2019. What you are doing is you're investing the money in the governmental slugs, and the way they come due is we schedule in each slug to come due on the payment date, the principal and interest payment dates until 2019, and then at 2019, June 1st of 2019, they all come due and we pay off the old debt. Now, the downside is you do have what we call negative arbitrage, because you are taking the money and you're paying 2%, and the governmental slugs does not pay you the 2%. They will pay you, based on the length of time, anywhere from 0.5% to, I think, 1.5% for the 2019 bonds. And so, no, I'm mistaken. They'll pay you 0.28% to about 0.84%. And the reason that you have such a low interest rate on those, first of all, it's the federal government, and you have to make sure the money is secure. You can't lose the money in any other type of investments, and so that is a requirement of the federal government, that you buy the governmental slugs in order to make sure the money's there when the payment, both principal and interest, are due, and the payoff is there in 2019. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Next question is, I understand it's wonderful that you can place these bonds with banks and they will not require the reserve or the restricted funding. In your assessment, is it the best that we pay down the bond, which has the benefit of providing us additional cash flow each year from now to 2029, or should we, given that interest rates are historically and continue to historically be very, very low, and there are signs that they'll start to increase, should we essentially hold on to the $2 million, convert it just simply from restricted to unrestricted, and have the freedom to use it now versus waiting for it over the life and through 2029?
That is certainly an option, but I think I would recommend that you buy down the bond issue. The reserve fund was set aside for this bond issue at over $2 million, and I think it's in the best interest of the district in order to buy down your payments. And the payments will decrease, if you'll recall on the handout that we sent you, by about $325,000 a year. And so I think it's in the best interest, because I would imagine that Doug is probably not getting a very high interest rate on that reserve fund. So I would use it to buy down the principal amount of the bond issue in order to then have less bonds. The bonds also, the sales tax revenue bonds, also count against your entire debt. So I think it's beneficial in order to do that and take the money and buy down the debt. And that would be my recommendation. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Good. Those were all my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else with questions?
We really have two options tonight. I think we would recommend moving forward with this motion so we can come back in a month with potential options and bid, We could also wait until next meeting to be able to move forward with the motion, but certainly our recommendation is to make that motion so we can see where we're at and hopefully move forward and take advantage of those low interest rates well into the future to save our taxpayers $1.5 million.
Do I have a motion?
I'd like to move it.
We have a written motion.
Yes, we have a written motion.
Okay.
But this really should be termed with investigating this, correct?
I believe, yes, it is really asking the board to move forward and directing the administration to work with the financial advisor to proceed with refinancing of the outstanding school infrastructure sales and service tax revenue bonds.
And we have an opportunity on the 10th of October to change it.
Yes, we'll
Right.
see what comes out of the
If it doesn't
negotiations
come out
and the
favorably.
process. Yep.
Yes, on October 10th, we'll bring back the deal. The deal is not complete until the board does take action. And so if, again, on October 10th or prior to that, and we'll be in communications with the administration, if prior to that, the market should turn against us, meaning the interest rates go up, the savings is not where we like it, then we certainly will come back to the board and recommend that we hold off and not take the action. But by this action tonight, you're just allowing us to proceed to make the deal with the placement agent and see if we can't bring you back a deal on October 10th.
Great. I move to approve authorizing the board secretary and financial advisor to proceed with refinancing of the outstanding school infrastructure sales, service, and use tax revenue bonds, Series 2011, dated May 10th, 2011.
Thank you, Susie. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jim. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
You will see my daughter on October 10th, who also works for our company and is a vice president, and because I will be out of town, but she will take care of you fine.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great job.
All right, moving on to item N, approval of the MOA with the City of Cedar Falls for a new elementary site. Doug?
I think Dr. Pattee and I will probably tackle this one jointly, but the district has been working, let me back up a little bit. Approximately 10 years ago, the district and the City of Cedar Falls jointly purchased the 40-acre site where the new elementary school is intended to be built. And in that original memorandum agreement, it talks about shared costs associated with developing the site. So we have been, over the last few months, working with the City of Cedar Falls in expanding that memorandum of agreement on how we are going to develop the site. And we have that document for you this evening. In real simplistic terms, it's basically a 50-50 split on the cost to grade, to put improvements into the site, primarily any street work and utility work that would be installed in the site, as well as a split on the grading for the site. That's not exactly 50-50. It's partially, it's a little bit more on the district side because of the extra work we need for the building that sits on the elementary or on the site versus what the proposed recreational areas would be on the west side of the site. And so that document is enclosed with you. The document has been reviewed by the City Council for the City of Cedar Falls, and they did approve that document at their last regular council meeting. With that, if anybody has any questions about the document, we'd try and go ahead to answer those.
Both the city attorney as well as the school district's attorney has reviewed this document, and both are very comfortable with this moving forward. I'd just like to add, the city's been a wonderful partner throughout this entire process, so we appreciate their willingness to collaborate as we look at how do we best serve our students and our community well into the future educationally. So thank you for that.
Right, do I have a motion?
Yes, I move that the Cedar Falls Community School District approve and authorize execution of a memorandum of agreement with the City of Cedar Falls relative to the development of jointly owned property in the McMahill Minor Plat.
Thank you, Jim. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Jenny. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to O, approval of temporary easement for access to new elementary site. Doug?
And in your board packet, you will find that we currently do not have direct access to the site that we just mentioned, where the new elementary school is going to be located. So we're working with the, I guess I would, it's Skogman Partners, can't think of the exact name. Where's it at?
Midwest Development
That's
Company.
it. Thank you very much. Who owns the property directly south of the new elementary school site, and they are willing to grant us a temporary easement to traverse their property off of Eric Road onto the site. We would use that easement only until such time as the streets, both by Midwest Partners and the school district and the city, are constructed, and then we would move to the streets. And then we'll need that easement before we move forward with any grading work that would need to take place on the site.
And the intent is to have those access roads completed next summer.
Correct.
All right, do I have a motion?
I move that Cedar Falls Community School District approve the temporary easement agreement with Midwest Development Company for access to the new elementary school site.
Thank you, Susie. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jenny. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
And this is just another caveat. They have been tremendous, the developers, just to work with going through this process as we continue to look at how do we best serve our students across our community and look at building that new elementary out there in the southwest section of town. So we greatly appreciate that collaborative spirit and certainly their understanding as we look to the next 2 years of construction.
Thank you. Moving on to item P on the agenda, approval of the new elementary grading package contract.
And I would like to
Mr. Nestor.
introduce Mr. Dan Channer from Structure Architects, who will review the receipt of the bids.
Good evening, everyone. As you can see in your packets, I have a recommendation letter, September 7th. The district received bids from 9 earthwork contractors, ranging from a low of $406,500 to a high of $796,000. After discussions with administration, we are recommending that the district accept a low bid from Macinich Corporation out of Des Moines, Iowa, with a low base bid of $406,500. This number is $153,500 under the original estimate of $560,000. So, if you have any questions.
And I would just comment that this is the first phase of, obviously, for the new elementary school project. We'll be talking a little bit more about that with the board as we move forward. I know Mr. Channer is going to be back at the second meeting in September to give an update to the board on the planning that we've been going through for both not only the new elementary school, but both Orchard Hill and North Cedar elementary schools. So you may get a little tired of us talking about this over the next few months.
We'll never get
Never, I
tired.
was gonna say never, we're never gonna get tired.
And we can say we were really pleased with the bids, where they came out, and certainly the interest in this grading package with 9 total bids received. That's we were very fortunate and
Yes.
very pleased.
Mm-hmm.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the grading package?
I move we approve the grading bid.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to seeing you in the
Dan.
future. All right, moving on to Q, amendment to the memorandum of agreement for Southdale Park.
Okay, that's me again. If the board will recall, before we put the addition on to Southdale Elementary School, the district entered into a memorandum of agreement for the for Southdale Park. And a little history on that, if you'll recall, part of the agreement, we actually built part of our new addition on at Southdale onto the old park land, and the agreement basically allowed the district to do that. But as a part of the agreement, we had to have the site resurveyed upon completion. Well, it's taken us a little bit of time to get to this point over when we opened up the building, but we're now finally at the part where we can we've had the survey done, it's been certified, all ready to go, and in order to meet the obligation of the original memorandum of agreement, we need to have the Board of Education tonight approve this amendment to that agreement so that it can be recorded at the Blackhawk County Recorder's Office appropriately.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the amendment?
I move that the Cedar Falls Community School District approve the amendment to the original memorandum of agreement with the City of Cedar Falls for Southdale Park.
Thank you, Jenny. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Susie. Any questions or discussion?
This is just another example of how closely we work with our city and how much we appreciate that collaboration. This is something that probably would not be done in a lot of communities across the state or across the country, but their willingness to allow us, for the benefit of our students, to expand into their park areas is tremendous. So thank you again for that.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item R, Board of Education goals.
Yes, we have a couple slides to show that highlight the recommended Board of Education goals for this upcoming school year. We had the opportunity to meet with our subcommittee to start reviewing goals and the areas of focus as we look not only really this upcoming year, but for the future. We have them broken down into three areas: student achievements, our culture and climate, and also with our PLCs. And you will see the first area is student achievement, and I would certainly ask any of the board committee members to please chime in and give your thoughts and ideas as we go over these. If these are approved this evening, then we'll move forward and we'll put these together in a SMART template, SMART goal template format, so we can look at what the action steps will be, how we will move forward with these, and what that timeline certainly will be undertaken to achieve these. So underneath student achievement, the first subset goal you can see is to learn, discuss, and gain a deeper understanding of the Center for Advanced Professional Studies program. We're excited that the CAPS program will be started this upcoming spring, in the spring semester, and we know that's going to be a deeper opportunity to showcase what that program will mean for our district and our students. Second subset is to start a process to create and utilize benchmarks with other high-achieving districts across the Midwest, looking at how can we explore what benchmarks and metrics to use, as well as to look at what districts we can compare to that are high-achieving districts across the Midwest. Just as Mr. Wedgbury stated earlier, we know we want to really metric ourselves against those highest districts to ensure that what we are asking, the expectations we have, and that focus on excellence is at a high measure. Then finally, the third subset is to create and have a successful PEPL renewal vote. We know this upcoming winter we are planning to have a PEPL renewal vote. This is not an increase in levy, but it's renewing that PEPL, physical plant and equipment levy. That's really focused on how do we provide transportation and technology as well as preventive maintenance across our district for all of our facilities. One of the subsets in there is to communicate how these funds have been used and how they will be used in the future. And that is the purpose of having the 10-year facility plan brought to the board next meeting that we discussed earlier with the comments about Robinson Dresser. You can see in here, this was a question that Mrs. Leeper asked previously at a previous board meeting. We have had a physical plant and equipment levy voted on by our community for 66 years consecutively. So that goes back to 1950 when this was first voted on. So it shows the strong support to ensure that we have those excellent facilities to provide that expectation for students. On the next slide, You can see the second goal area is culture and climate. We had several subset goals in this area. Number one, we would ask that the board participate in a book study centered on the book entitled Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. This is a training that Admin Council is going to go through over the course of the next 9 months, and it's really focused on how do you have conversations that might be emotionally charged to ensure that they are productive and come to a good conclusion during those times of high emotion. We had down another subset of this goal, participate in 7 habits of effective people training. The hope is that this is in junction with the Cedar Falls City Council, potentially leaders of Cedar Falls Utilities, to continue to engage and have deeper learning. We had down the third subset, participate in a joint meeting with the Cedar Falls City Council and CFU Board of Directors. The hope is potentially that that can take place sometime early spring, potentially January or February, as we look at how is growth occurring across our community. Where are areas that we know we need to have dialogue about as we look at being efficient with taxpayer dollars. Then finally, underneath culture and climate, the fourth subset was to explore options and opportunities to create consistent language for K-12 character education programming to ensure that there's language that everybody understands, knows, and utilizes effectively. Then the final slide is our PLC board goals. What we came up with through the subcommittee was 2 subset goals. Number 1, attend our PTO, PTA meetings to discuss, provide information, and gather feedback from our parent-teacher organizations. We know that that is so invaluable as a board and as a district to be able to engage those leaders and engage those volunteers. And then the second subset is board member visits to buildings during regular school time, PLC time, staff training time, to see the work that is ongoing throughout our district. It certainly is tremendous to see our staff, and again, we've said this multiple times, our tremendous staff and the work that they do each and every day, and certainly we encourage our board to come out to be able to visit those. So at this time, certainly any committee members that'd like to make comments or any questions that individual board members may have.
Andy, just one quick comment, I guess a couple of comments on goal number 1. Just as I'm looking at this, when we're talking about our 10-year facility plan, I know we say 10-year PEPL facility plan. Certainly we want to highlight what PEPL has done and how we intend to use PEPL, but I think we're also going to make that's a 10-year more all-encompassing facility plan. Is that correct, or am I wrong on that?
You know, we have items that are listed on that to show the board as that draft document. That includes some items that are not within the physical plant and equipment expenditures. One of the areas that we know we're going to have to address is certainly our high school as we look to the future, and that is something that cannot be done out of physical plant and equipment, but we know it's a need. So there are items on there that might not be directly correlated with PEPL, but certainly know that the major focus of that document is which of those physical or which of those pieces will be taken care of or paid for out of PEPL.
Okay, good. And then I guess just a comment as a committee member looking at this under the student achievement, that we really had some discussions about benchmarking ourselves. I mean, Jason did a great job of talking about how well our high school is doing and how well our students are performing, which is obviously not, he gets the benefit of the last 3 years, but it's also throughout, starting kindergarten all the way through. But when we think about benchmarking ourselves, I think it's important. We often compare ourselves to other districts within the state of Iowa, which is nice. I mean, they have similar funding mechanisms and similar constraints and advantages that we have. But really our intent, I think, as we're looking at this, is to go beyond maybe the state of Iowa, although I'm sure there'll be districts that we want to compare ourselves to within the state, and look at really high achieving districts and see, give ourselves some stretch goals eventually there, and this will be probably be a multi-year goal as we roll this out and benchmark, do gap analysis, and try and figure out if those are things that we want to aspire to and how we would possibly get there. So I think it's a great goal for us to move the district forward.
And if I could suggest an addition to, under Goal 2, our last bullet there, explore options and opportunities to create consistent language for K-12 character education programs. I think to further reflect what we're really trying to do there, if you're open to it, explore options and opportunities to create consistent language and experiences within our K-12 character education programs, because the consistent language is important, but really what we're getting at is we want all of our buildings, all of our students to be experiencing those rich, rigorous opportunities and experiences that they can model that character education. Consistent language is part of that, but it's really about the experience they're having within our system. So does that make sense? Does that reflect what we kind of talked about?
Doug, did you get, or Andy, are you able to make that change?
Yep.
Okay. How does the rest of the board feel about that? Susan?
Yeah, as long as we're exploring all opportunities, yeah.
Okay, Jeff,
Yes, I'm fine with that.
okay. And then with,
I had one question too. Andy, could you explain, since we're now being broadcast in Cedar Falls, would you explain SMART goals?
Yes, we utilize a SMART goal framework that's focused on specific goals that are measurable, that are results-oriented, time-sensitive, and certainly attainable, that really focus on what are the action steps necessary, what are the timetable and when those will be completed, who are the individuals responsible for ensuring that those goals are met, and we have a template that we utilize to ensure that these are in place and are handled appropriately.
Thank you.
do I have a motion to approve the BEP 2016-2017 Board of Education goals?
So moved.
Thank you, Jenny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Susie. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign for opposed. Motion carried. The only thing I want to say before we move on that goal 3, the PLC board goal on the PTO, PTA visits, it would be wonderful if someone this evening would, or even a couple would champion that one so that we can get that going and maybe work with Andy to come up with some dates in visiting those buildings so that we don't go into the first of next year without getting that started.
You know, one of the conversations we had, and I can't remember which board meeting it was at, but we talked about that it's a time-intensive, schedule-intensive process for all of our board, and really, you know, some of the meetings, it's sometimes a time crunch for our PTA and PTO people to get us in there, and they're not always well attended because of scheduling, and sometimes we're doing it in the spring when people are really busy. So we did talk about trying to find a way to bring them together. Is anyone else recalling this? We talked about trying to find maybe some common, maybe it's one common meeting, or we have a spring and a fall where we partner with the PTAs and PTOs. Or maybe I was just talking about this in my own head, but it seemed like it might make more sense to have more people attend a bigger meeting where we can have maybe even some inter-dialogue between our PTAs and PTOs rather than to go to each building. I don't know if that's worth considering. Sometimes we just, it's just not, as important as it is for us to be there, we're just not getting the attendance we'd hoped for. And it'd be nice to try and reach a larger audience and have a more comprehensive dialogue with our parents.
Certainly open to that opportunity. We attempted to have something similar to that probably a year and a half ago or 2 years ago during our initial bond referendum. It wasn't heavily attended as well just because of people's schedule and sometimes the timing when you look at having those meetings. I think we would be open to any kind of those dialogue to really engage our shareholders and stakeholders. So it's certainly up to the board if you'd want to go out on their terms or see if we can invite them in to come to a meeting at some time in the future that's set up probably outside the scope of a board meeting.
Could we try both? And just see,
We could.
Good.
whether it be one in the fall and one in the spring, or just one, to see how we can get a response from a general.
And we could even survey our PTO, PTA leadership and
Right.
see what they, I mean, if they would prefer that they're comfortable with what we've done, we can leave it at that. But if they think maybe it would be worth an opportunity for them to have a common discussion, we could, it's whatever.
So Jenny, I'm going to ask you if you'd be willing to send out an email maybe to the PTA, PTO presidents and ask them
Sure.
what they might think their members would like us to do, and maybe we can work around that with Dr. Petit and see what we can get scheduled. And then I'm wondering if someone would also work with Dr. Petit to schedule those PLC building visits, because I know he likes to attend with us, and we can work around that schedule also. And if we can put it in a Google Doc, then we can all have access to that and work off of that doc.
That's a fairly easy commitment. I will work on those dates and certainly try to find common dates that work for our building leadership as well as the staff in the building. So if somebody will just help coordinate and work with me on that, I'll hopefully have that pieced together shortly.
I did already start a document with the PTA meeting dates for the whole year. Yeah, I don't have them all.
Do you want to take that one? I mean, and Carrie usually has that, can get that information for us, so.
A lot of it's already posted on the new website, so.
Okay. Do you want to take that one, Susie, then? Or the PTA, PTO?
Well, if you want to, I mean, I'll assemble the dates. If you want to make the contact, let's go with that. I'll assemble it, and then we can go back to Dr. Petit's calendar then for the meetings. Does that make sense? We'll just work collaborative.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. All right, moving on to the superintendent's goals.
Yes. Again, similar format that we had. We had a subcommittee that worked to look at superintendent goals for the 2016-17 school year. 3 categories of goals, once again, student achievement, PLC, and then culture and climate. And those align not only with our district goals, our individual building goals, individual team goals across our district, as well as individual teacher goals. You can see here the first goal area is student achievement listed, and there are 3 subset goals. Number 1, explore learning or deeper learning opportunities and have deeper exploration on learning-based grading, personalized learning. And then also the third subset, which is going to be fairly new conversations, project-based or magnet exploration for the Cedar Falls Community School District and what that may look like. Typically, a magnet school is something that has, could be a specialized curriculum, could be a focal area, and is that a good fit for our school district? Across the state, this is a fairly new idea, but across the country, this is something that has been done and done with great success. Second subset area is evaluation of our teacher leadership and compensation in year 2 planning. It's a fairly large undertaking, but something that's very, very impactful for our students as well as our teaching and learning across our district. We have multiple leadership positions for the very first time this year across our district regarding this TLC grant. We did receive about $1.6 million to implement this from the state. That's ongoing funding, and certainly very, very tremendous as we look to the future. The third subset is implementation of the CAPS, the Center for Advanced Professional Study, and also the reading and writing workshop model at the elementary. Both of those will be implemented this year, workshop model now, and also CAPS coming up this spring semester. The second goal area you can see is PLC, Professional Learning Communities. 2 subsets. Number 1, continue to work with statewide groups and local groups to explore my own learning and best practice. This is really about the collaboration and professional growth. I'm involved with the statewide superintendents group that helps set professional development for all superintendents across the state, the executive leaders through School Administrators of Iowa. I'm involved with the Board of Educational Examiners, which is the board that oversees all licensing for all educators across the state. I'm on a superintendent advisory board through the Iowa Association of School Boards, and certainly the Chamber Alliance, which is a tremendous learning opportunity and networking across our region. Number 2, subset goal, undertake training with our administrative council with fierce conversations, similar to the book study that we talked about with the board goals, and this is really focused again on how to deal with difficult conversations and how do you diffuse emotional conflict to have good, sound outcomes. Then the third area is culture and climate. Several subset of goals here. Number one, to continue to focus on that PEPAL expenditure plan and facility planning as we look into the future. Enhancing and engaging in social media to showcase the work that is ongoing across our buildings. It is amazing what is happening in each of our classrooms each and every day for student learning. We know that we are subset goal is to increase that community and parent engagement. There's several things that are happening. We are moving into a parent university plan that's going to start this year to really focus on how do we engage parents and potentially offer some learning opportunities for parents. The Golden Age Pass, I think Jenny asked about that 2 meetings ago, which is an opportunity for those citizens 62 years of age or older to receive a free activity pass for our activities across our district. And then we really need to focus in on partners in education and how do we develop those partnerships so that they can be maybe at times more deeper and maybe even more impactful for all of our students across our district. So again, this is from our subcommittee, and certainly any questions or comments from our subcommittee or questions from the full board at this time. We would take these and put these into our SMART goal format and framework for the next meeting to be able to review, but certainly this is kind of that framework for those goals and subset goal areas.
Do I have a motion to approve the superintendent's goals?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or any questions regarding the goals? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to the approval of the 2016-2017 Career and Technical Committee. Mr. Conrad.
Yes. This is really the only district-wide committee that by code of Iowa requires a board approval. So we bring it to you every year at the beginning of the school year to have you approve the members on that particular committee, and you can see that I've put those on there. We do still have a couple of open spots on this committee that we need to fill. We've had a couple that have gone off the committee, and basically what we try to do is look at each area of our career and technical programs and have at least one committee member that represents that particular program. So we also need a board rep. I don't think we've selected one for this year to serve on this committee, so we're looking forward to that, but I'd recommend approval.
All right. Do you want a volunteer?
We will come back with our committee assignments at the next board meeting. The hope would be that we could go through our organizational meeting and get that settled before we came back with committee assignments.
Okay, then do I have a motion to approve the Career and Technical Education Committee?
Can I just ask a couple questions quick? I mean, Dan, what does this committee do, briefly?
It is kind of a liaison between our programs and our local businesses. So it advises our teachers on some of the new technology, the things that are happening out in the business world, the world of work. It also is responsible for overseeing our competencies that we have. They have to approve our competencies in each of our career and technical programs, as well as those assessments that we do. Recently, we've been working on programs of study, which is looking at what kind of a seamless program do we have going through our high school into community college and to the four-year college. Again, part of the requirements of a career and technical program is to develop a program of study in each of those career and technical areas that is partnered with a community college within the state. And so we've got one of our programs that already has been approved as a program of study, and we have 3 others that we'll be working on this year.
I see. Is there any benefit to having anybody from UNI? Is there any?
We would love to have a UNI rep on there.
I did get a name from Dr. Shaw earlier, and have reached out to that person, just have not heard back from them yet.
Great, that'd be terrific. Thanks.
Do I have a motion to approve the committee?
I move we approve the committee as presented.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on then to the facility discussion.
Yes, there's not a lot to update with our facility process besides what we have already talked about. Our hope is that the next meeting we'll have that PEPAL planned for the board. As you heard earlier, we'll have Dan Channer back to be able to talk about some of the work that we've been engaging on for those 3 projects that were approved last spring by our community through that general obligation bond. You will see probably at the end of this week, we will send out an opportunity for community members to start submitting potential new elementary names. Again, we'll go through a committee process. That committee process then will recommend 2 or 3 names to the full board to be able to review and look at for what that new elementary's official name will be. It's really the first time in decades that we have opened up a brand new building in the Cedar Falls Community School District. And there's a wide range of names that we've utilized from individual politicians, former staff members, or it could even be a geographic region that the buildings are named after. So this will be an opportunity to get that feedback from our community.
Good. All right. Any other questions or further discussion? Okay, superintendent's report.
A couple different items, just more informational than anything. October board's meeting dates are October 10th and 24th. We have the Iowa Association of School Boards State Convention, November 16th through 18th. October 10th, October 10th it says board committee assignments, but our hope is to do that at the next meeting for us to finalize what those will look like. We'll send those out ahead of time so everybody's aware of what committees you have been on and what committees are available. Certified annual report, our CAR, will be on October 10th. And then we have the informational report of Iowa assessments on October 24th.
All right. Any questions for Dr. Pattee? Thank you. Questions or comments, concerns from board members? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.